الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اجعلنا منهم ومن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر آمين يا رب العالمين. ثم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وكيف أخاف ما أشركتم ولا تخافون أنكم أشركتم بالله ما لم ينزل به عليكم سلطانا فأي الفريقين أحق بالأمن إن كنتم تعلمون الذين آمنوا ولم يلبسوا إيمانهم بظلم أولئك لهم الأمن وهم مهتدون. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي آمين يا رب العالمين. I am very honored and pleased to have another opportunity to speak with you, and I want to begin first of all once again by thanking all of the volunteers and also the attendees. You guys have been sitting for quite a long time and it takes quite a bit of patience and attention span to do so. I will not ask you to stand up today and stretch. We'll do that later at the end of the program because you'll need to survive what I have to say to you. And inshallah ta'ala at the end we might do that. But I want to share with you how strongly I feel about this topic and how important it is that Muslims really seriously give thought and reflection to this concept of coexistence and actually peaceful coexistence, and seek the guidance of the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam when it comes to this very important issue. Because, I don't have to tell you this, but the entire world is on fire. And the message of hate is being spread from every direction. And human beings on this planet are suffering from that message. And the propagation of hate against Islam and Muslims is one part of that problem. But there are many parts to this problem. And we have to look at it in a very comprehensive way. So I want to begin, even though there are ayat I want to share with you, I want to begin with a little bit of background. I used to, for example, assume that, the people in Switzerland, they don't like Muslims. Because in the news I heard about the minarets not being allowed and the niqab being banned and all of this other stuff. So I said, these people, they just don't like Muslims. And obviously Muslims, when they talk about, the Swiss, they have certain emotions rile up because, cartoons and all this other stuff in that part of Europe. And recently I had a chance to travel to Switzerland. And I didn't have too much of a fun experience in the beginning. When I landed, I could notice people are giving me dirty looks. They're looking at me a certain way. And you know me, I like trouble. So when they look at me a certain way, I go, but anyway, I was on the train and a person came up to me and he started speaking to me in German. He was drunk. He was completely drunk. I could smell the alcohol 5 feet away. And how do I know how alcohol smells? I live in Texas. He's talking to me and he's talking in German. And I don't know what he's saying. So I asked one of the brothers that was, traveling with us, what's this guy saying? He was asking me where I was from. So I told him I'm from Texas. So he said something else and I got it translated. He said, Texas, where's your hat? The cowboy hat. So I said, I left it back in Texas. And then he said something interesting. He said to me, please don't do a terrorist attack in my country. We're sitting in the train. There are other passengers on the train. And he said this to me in German, please don't do a terrorist attack in my country. And I turned back to him and I said, excuse me, sir, not everyone from Texas is a terrorist. But as shocking as that introduction to Switzerland was, when I spent a little more time there, I realized something. These people don't hate Muslims. These people just don't like change. They like things to stay exactly as they are. They want to preserve their society. They don't even want Danish influence. They don't want German influence. They don't want British influence. They don't want American influence. They want to stay Swiss like their chocolate. They want to keep things as they are. So when they see Muslims, and we are clearly very different people, then anything about us they see as a threat to their own society, and we're not the only ones. If you dig into their society, we're not the only ones that they have this aggression towards, or this maybe not even aggression, but actually some sort of feeling that this is not good for our society, it's going to change our society. Now, understanding that changed my view on the people, because we have to give some time to understand the people that we're dealing with. If we just hear about them on the news and make all of the assumptions, it creates an oversimplistic world that is not the reality. When I traveled recently before this trip to another country in the Arab world, I was being interviewed by a journalist, and I would assume journalists know better. And the journalist asked me, so you live in America, what part of America do you live in? And I said, I live in Texas. Isn't that the Bible Belt, he said? Yes, that's the Bible Belt. You're right. We got huge churches in Texas. Massive. We have a masjid, and then there's a church across the street that is 10 times the size of the masjid. Okay? This is what we have. And the only thing that's more packed than the masjid and the church is Walmart. That's the third thing we have. We have 3 things in Texas. But anyway, so he asked me, so do they let you pray in Texas? Are you allowed to speak about Islam? Are you allowed to give da'wah? Are you allowed to live a life? I was like, wow, you people have a lot of assumptions about life in America for Muslims. Because life in America for Muslims is incredible. There are more institutions coming up for Muslims in America than ever before in history. Actually, post 9/11, there was a huge expansion in the number of masajid in North America. And there are 1,800 Islamic schools, 1,800 Islamic schools in the United States alone. We're not even counting Canada. Just in the United States. There's work happening, but we assume, we give this oversimplified picture, oh, nothing good is happening. Nothing good is happening in the Khalij, or nothing good is happening in Pakistan, or nothing good is happening in Bangladesh. There's only problems. And Muslims, we know this one thing, we love talking about problems. We love it. And the other thing on top of that is we love justifying our hate or our anger towards other people. And this needs to stop. So I begin again. Coexistence. I'm glad this topic was chosen because I don't like this word. This gives me a chance to talk about this word. You know what coexistence means? I'll give you a practical example of coexistence. If I'm sitting on a flight, I'm sitting on a plane, and I'm not kicking the guy in front of me, I am peacefully coexisting with him. If the guy in front of me, when he orders coffee, he doesn't splash it on my face in the back, we are peacefully coexisting. Coexistence means I don't fight you and you don't fight me, but I don't have to like you and you don't have to like me. I don't have to say hello to you, you don't have to say hello to me. I don't have to get to know you and you don't have to get to know me. A lot of us are peacefully coexisting in our neighborhoods. You don't know your neighbor. You've never said hello to him, you've never said salam to him or her. If they're Muslim, you've never done it. You've never done it. And you're peacefully coexisting in your apartment building. That is not the call of Islam. Islam does not want peaceful coexistence. Islam wants harmony and peace and love and friendship and camaraderie between all human beings. Islam wants you to get to know every single human being. Every single Muslim that is sitting in the audience today, you are supposed to be a demonstration of the love of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for all of humanity. You know, the famous ayah I'm reminded of, people think of the non-Muslims, the first thought that comes in their head is kuffar. That's a terrible idea. Why would you think of them as kuffar? This is not the way of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Our Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam thought of the people exactly as not yet believers. You know, even if they don't believe, they are still honorable people, all people. Hindus, atheists, Buddhists, agnostics, Christians, Jews. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. They are all honorable human beings. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي Adam. We ourselves, Allah says, we honored the son of Adam. Who are you and I to insult a human being when Allah honored them? Just because they're not Muslim. This is not the way of the Muslims. We as Muslims, you know, when we talk about peace, the first thoughts that come in your head, are about war. How can we end the wars in the world? How can we end the conflicts and the civil disobediences and all the kinds of internal wars, civil wars that are happening in the world, and all of the propaganda and the political differences between nations and things like that. But I argue, wallahi, I argue that the Islamic perspective and the Quranic perspective on these things is very straightforward and very simple. That if human beings at the individual level can truly experience and give off peace, then it has a ripple effect to society, and through it to a city, and through it to a country, and through it internationally. But it begins at the level of the individual. So I want to dedicate this conversation with you in the few minutes that I have left. And by the way, today I'm not even keeping track of time because I think this is absolutely critical. And I know, mashallah, there are non-Muslims in our audience, and I'm glad that you're here, and I'm honored at your presence. But at the same time, today, this is going to be me giving the Muslims a talking, myself and you. We need a reminder about our role as Muslims and, you know, ambassadors of peace. What are we supposed to be doing? How are we supposed to be carrying ourselves? Allah Azza wa Jal says, فَأَيُّ الْفَرِيقَيْنِ أَحَقُّ بِالْأَمْنِ. Which of the two groups is more deserving of peace? Which of the two groups? The people of shirk or the people of tawheed? Which of the two groups are more deserving of al-amn. Now al-amn is one of the words in Arabic for peace. And the other word you've been hearing all along this conference is as-salam, which are two very close terms in the Arabic language, but they are distinct from one another. And it's important that we dig deep into the Arabic language to understand the nuances and the beauties of these words. Because when I say salam and I translate it into peace, I am actually only taking one shade of the meaning of this word. The Arabic language was chosen, the Muslims believe, we believe, the Arabic language was chosen because it is rich, it is deep, it is profound. And every word that Allah chooses tells a story. It embeds in it a chain of lessons that all have to be appreciated so we can taste the wisdom of Allah's words. He chose this perfect language, subhanAllah, for His message. Now, even though we've been translating the word as-salam as peace in many, even lexicons of the Arabic language, al-qawamis allati hiya min al-arabiyya ila al-arabiyya, the Arabic to Arabic lexicons of the Arabic language, al-amn was-salam bi-ma'nan, yani bi-ma'nan wahid. The amn and salam are interchangeable, they are at one meaning. But I want to highlight to you a few things about this word salam. Why is Islam a message of peace? Let's start with that. Why is it a message of peace? What's the point of having peace? The ultimate point of having peace is that when we come before Allah on the day of judgment, the only people that will be worth anything to Allah on the day of judgment, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ مَا هُوَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. No money will benefit, no children will benefit on that day. The only one that comes before Allah with something worth anything on Judgment Day is someone who has a heart that is salim. The word salim comes from the same word salam. So what does it mean? Salim actually means something safe, something undamaged. Literally, it actually means something undamaged. In modern Arabic, even today, the word salim is used to describe a healthy person. How are you doing? I'm doing okay, Salim. I'm doing all right. In other words, I haven't been afflicted by disease. I'm not injured. I'm not hurt in any way. I am doing fine. And Allah says, you have to bring me a heart that is at peace, but a heart that is undamaged. And the idea of Salim in and of itself suggests that there are dangers that can afflict or damage this heart. They can damage this heart. So let's first talk about some of those dangers. We have to be at peace with our Creator. But even before then, what is a litmus test of the fact that we are at peace with Allah? If you can go pray, and prayer is supposed to bring you peace with Allah. That's what it's supposed to do. Salah is supposed to bring you peace with Allah. And you finish your prayer, and you come back, and it's easy for you to get into a fight with your wife. It's easy for you to yell at your children. It's easy for you to get angry when you're driving back from the masjid at the next driver. You're not at peace in your heart, man. You have to think about what's going on here, because a heart that is at peace with Allah automatically becomes at peace with all of creation. So there must be something missing in your relationship with Allah and mine, that we are not easily at peace with others. Sometimes when you travel to the Muslim countries, you can tell. Even if you don't get out of the airport, you can tell. I tell you an experience I had. Just these small practical things, because we have to think about them at the individual level. I'm standing in line, we're waiting for the passport, stamp. There's a couple of guys behind me. My whole family is there, and of course in line, your family is a unit, they're in line, and there's a group of people behind you, they're in line. So one of those guys who's standing behind me, he stands next to me. And I thought that was strange. Wow, it's a line. Why are you standing next to me? But I didn't say anything. And you know how those lines, they turn like this? So when the turn came, he overtook me. And I still didn't say anything. I could have said, hey buddy, that's a line. No, I just let him go, it's okay. So he gets ahead of me. Once he gets ahead of me, what does he do? He points, hey, aja. You know what? So one guy comes, he does the same maneuvering, and I let him do it. Then I said, you know what, let me see how this works. Because it was a long line, so I had time to experiment with these guys. So what I did was I took my children and I lined them up so the entire lane was blocked. So as we are turning, this guy is trying this way, and he's literally right on top of me, and he's trying to overtake, and I'm not letting him go. But I know he's there, but I'm pretending I don't see him. So after a couple of lanes of games, I move all my children. I said, my brother, Eid Mubarak, please go. It's okay, just go ahead. And you know what, this person, I could get angry. These people are so rude. They don't even respect the line. But then I realized something. The Muslims, unfortunately, overwhelmingly have become part of a culture where you are only thinking about yourself. And if you are standing in a line, something as simple as standing in a line, if you are not right next to the guy in front of you, if you give 1 inch, you know someone will come in between. So you stand right there and you hold your ground. And if you see a little bit of a half an inch, you take it. And we do this not just in a line. We do this even when, our beloved audience, I love you people. I wish I got to say salam to every one of you because I want to earn every one of your du'as and I want to make du'a for every one of you, but it's not possible. But when the people come and they want to shake hands with the sheikh, and I'm no sheikh. People, mashallah, in Peace Conference, they invited all these ulama and they invited me after. I don't know what, I don't see the connection. But anyway, alhamdulillah, I'm glad to be here. But people want to shake the hand. And they're elbowing each other in the face and they're moving and climbing on the, hey, assalamu alaikum. And I ask myself, we don't even know how to peacefully coexist with each other. With each other. How are we going to give peaceful coexistence to the world? We have to really question ourselves. When you see an empty seat, you think yourself, you think of someone else first. When you see an elder outside standing in line, do you say, can you go ahead in front of me, please? Please take my space. How do we behave at restaurants? How do we behave outside in public? This is the example that we set. How do we drive even? I've noticed more and more in many Muslim countries, when you're driving and somebody's about to cross the street, what does the driver do? They speed up. They speed up. And the guy who's walking, he doesn't care either. He says, it's insane. What are you people doing? It's really an act of, it raises your iman driving in the Muslim world. It raises your iman. Because it's just, they even told some of the shuyukh, Sheikh, close your eyes, we're about to cross the street. Those cars, subhanallah. We have to become examples of decency, of courtesy, of respect towards other human beings. As I leave you, I want to share some things with you from this word salima. I didn't get to analyze the language of it. The word salima, one of the things, salima min al-uyub, from salam, salima min al-uyub, to be safe from damage, like I mentioned before. What kind of damage do we have? If you have hatred towards a brother, if you have anger towards someone, if you're jealous of someone, if you're feeling greed all the time, if you're always comparing yourself to other people, that's a aib. And you got to work on that because you're not going to find peace. Allah Azza wa Jal, when you connect with Him, you know what happens? You get to realize Allah has given you whatever your share in life, and Allah has given people their share in life, and you will be at peace with what Allah gave you and you'll be grateful for it. When we learn to become grateful to Allah, a lot of our greed and a lot of our anger starts going away. And even when it comes to da'wah, when it comes to giving the message of Islam, you cannot be angry at people and invite them to Islam. You cannot insult people and invite them to Islam. You cannot make them feel stupid and inferior and invite them to Islam. You have to respect people and invite them into your home and treat them like they're dignified people. And that in and of itself is the ultimate invitation to Islam. I was speaking with a church group in Texas. There was a group of leaders from churches, and they had invited me to speak with them about certain issues, and they wanted to discuss. And usually you think when Muslims and Christians are going to get together, they're going to have a debate about how many is God, right? 3 versus 1. But that's not why I was there. I went there to say one thing, and I'm saying it to you. I told them, look, the Muslims in the United States are a minority, but they are significant in population, and they are not going anywhere. The number of mosques, the number of masajid, the number of Islamic institutions are only increasing, and that's not going anywhere. Now, I know you love Christianity, and you love that Jesus enter every heart, and everybody accept Him as Lord and Savior and all of that. But please accept the reality that we are not going anywhere. We are a reality. Learn to deal with us and stop wishing that we would just disappear. And I say the same thing to the Muslims, the Christians of this world, the Jews of this world, the Hindus of this world, the Buddhists of this world. They are all a reality. They are a significant population of this planet. And our obligation to them, even before we give them the message of Islam, our obligation to them is to show them the beauty and the mannerisms and the etiquette of Islam, and to accept that they exist and they are not going anywhere. In your lifetime, they will still be there. They have been there for centuries. They might even be there for centuries, however long Allah decides to keep this earth going. So learn to live with each other. Learn to respect each other. Not just coexist, but become neighbors with one another. One of my great teachers, Ustad Nuh Faris, who's back in the United States, he's from Palestine. And he told me stories of when he was growing up. He used to live, back in Palestine, and in his village there were some Jewish people, there were some Christian people, and there were Muslims. And back when he was growing up, they used to sit together and just have lunch. And they'd talk to each other. Everything was fine. There was not a problem. And this is how life is supposed to be. We're supposed to be able to coexist. I'm not saying that you bring them into your home and you give them your bank account number or whatever. I'm not saying that. But I am saying there is such a thing as decent, civil behavior towards non-Muslims, and not an attitude that these people, they're going to burn in hell anyway, so might as well give them a kick while they're going down. I don't know. This is not the attitude, subhanAllah. The final point that I want to share with you about this idea of peaceful coexistence. The Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Actually, let me give you a little background about this ayah, on a personal note. I was traveling to a European country where there are a lot of young people that are very fired up about Islam. And I gave a talk about reflection on the Quran. And at the end of my talk, some youth asked questions like, we live in a kafir society. How are we supposed to deal with these kuffar who hate Islam? And our neighbors are all kuffar. And we have to give da'wah to these kuffar because they are evil and they're calling to kufr. No, kufr, kufr, kufr. I mean, the word kufr, he said it so many times. I thought this guy doesn't know any other words. And so at the end of that entire ordeal, I went up on the mic and I said, listen, I think some of you have problems with the kuffar. So I'm going to just share something with you for you to think about. I just want you to think about it. Allah Azza wa Jalla in the Quran says, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. You, no doubt, meaning the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not guide whoever you love. You don't guide whoever you love. Allah guides whoever He wants. Now from this ayah we learn two lessons, at least. Lesson number one, only Allah guides. Guidance is not in the hands of even the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is from Allah. Number one. Here's the number two lesson. The fact that the Messenger of Allah loves those who don't have guidance. إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ. And it's not, some Mufassirun say it refers to Abu Talib, but if it was exclusively Abu Talib, we would have found the a'id. It would have been إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَهُ. And that would do a taqeed in grammar. I don't want to give you a grammar lesson, but it would have been restricted to Abu Talib. Because it says مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ, there's tawassu' fil ma'na. It opens up the meaning, which means the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has love for the people who don't have guidance, which means he has love for Quraysh, which means he has love for the woman who throws trash on him. He has love for the people who curse him. He has love for the people who push him around. He has love for the people who hate the Quran that was revealed onto him. He has love for them. So now for you and me to have love for the people who don't have guidance becomes a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It becomes a sunnah. And that is when you start da'wah. To have love for your fellow human being. To see their children just as children. To see their families as families like our families. They're human beings too. And Allah Azza wa Jal gave us that. The life of a human being. One innocent human being. Taking one innocent life is like killing all of humanity. Allah did not say taking the life of one believer, one human being, because all of them are honored before Allah. So we have to revive that beautiful sunnah and that concern of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of love for your neighbor. Those of you that have Muslim neighbors, Hindu neighbors, Buddhist neighbors, Christian neighbors, Jewish neighbors, doesn't matter. When you make a meal, go give them something. Just make sure it's a good meal. And if you're desi, don't put too much mirchi in it, because then I don't want nothing to do with Islam, because I had that one biryani and now I'm paying the price for 2 weeks. Don't do that. But if you have a good meal, share it with them. If you have good news, share it with them. When you see your neighbor doing something, they're moving their furniture or something, you hear about it, you see them working, do you need any help? Just do that. That is da'wah. And that is not just peaceful coexistence, it's a message that speaks louder. They say in Arabic, al-lahdhu asdaqu imba'an min al-lafz. They say observation, what can be observed by the eyes speaks volumes way over what words can say. We say in English, actions speak louder than words. Let the da'wah of actions speak so much louder than our words. Because we don't want to have our non-Muslim friends here that are sitting listening to this message of peace go outside and be pushed on the street. And when they're trying to take a taxi and it stops, you kick them out of the way and you get in. They're like, I thought it was a peaceful religion. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be those people. Let's give the message of peace in our practice, in the way we deal with each other. And of course that begins with how we deal within ourselves. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us peaceful people and a people that have a relationship with their Creator, but at the same time have a beautiful relationship with each other. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What we're going to do now is going to get you audience to participate and get the Sheikh to answer your questions, inshallah. So we're going to go mic 1, mic 2, mic 3, usual thing. And we're going to start with the sisters. And we're going to have preference given to those not yet Muslims that we should have been engaging with for all these hundreds and hundreds of years, inshallah. So can we have a not yet Muslim sister or a not yet Muslim brother to kick off the proceedings so we can engage with you, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Brother, I wanted to ask you a question on behalf of my mother. My mother is an Islamic teacher in her school, and there's a collection going on for festivals like Easter, Vishu, etc. And soon there will be collection for many other festivals celebrated by non-Muslims. Will it account to Sheikh if my mom contributes? And my mom fears that if she contributes, it will become a big issue. So how can she peacefully coexist in this situation as well as maintain her iman?
Thank you for your question. It's a fantastic question. I want to share a couple of emotions with you before this answer because they're related. I came into discovering my religion in America. And my experience of learning Islam and learning and being in the company of Muslims is entirely, for the most part, American. And when I travel to the Muslim world, I feel a love and a connection to the Ummah like I've never felt before in my entire life. I really do. And the question you're asking is a question that we deal with in America all the time. You know, we have Muslims working in hospitals, we have Muslims working in public schools, we have Muslims working in non-Muslim organizations, and they have non-Muslim celebrations. We have people that are accountants that are invited to the Christmas party, We have people that are working as programmers, and all the guys are going to go grab a beer after work, and if you don't go with them, it seems rude. So we deal with this situation all the time. And here's my response to this situation. The world over needs to understand and respect what I consider, and what our deen gives us, religious freedom. There is such a thing as religious freedom. And it needs to be respected of non-Muslims, and we should respect it of the Muslims as well. In other words, you should be able to articulate in a respectful fashion that as far as your religious convictions are concerned, these holidays and these celebrations contradict with your religious view. And even if other Muslims, unfortunately, are part of those celebrations, you cannot seem to reconcile in good conscience your faith and these practices, so you would kindly like to be excused from taking part in this sort of thing. And you have to be, I tell you, rizq comes from Allah. And if you're afraid of losing your job, it's a reasonable fear. But I, at the same time, tell you, people who stand up for their beliefs sincerely for the sake of Allah, Allah will provide them rizq, Allah will provide them provision, and He will keep them in a safe provision. Because our rizq, at the end of the day, your paycheck does not come from your school, your paycheck comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. There's two ways of doing this. One way, my sister, is you go to the school and say, Easter is haram. I will not raise I will raise funds against Easter. We will do a Wester or something, or whatever. You could do that. Or you could, write a letter, an intelligent letter. You can go to your supervisor. You can express your concern. You could talk intelligently about it and say, and when people invite you to it, you can say, you know what, I don't participate in it. I have my reasons. If you'd like to know them, I can share them with you. But otherwise, please respect the fact that I would not like to participate. Just like this, if there were Christians in the school or Hindus in the school, and there was a collection being made for donations to the masjid, and they were being asked, they shouldn't be asked anyway, but if they were being asked, they should have a right to say, look, this is not what we do, sorry. And we shouldn't be angry at them to not want to support the Eid party or something, So it goes both ways, and this is part of peaceful coexistence. So that part of that, it means you have to stand up for what you believe, but you stand up for it intelligently, not emotionally. You find an intelligent, formal, respectful way of standing up for your convictions, and inshallah ta'ala, my hopes are reasonable people will listen to that and respect it as well.
Abdullah Quilliam opened his masjid in Liverpool in 1889 in Victorian Britain on Christmas Day, and he fed 1,000 children from the streets.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah.
That's the difference.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's take the next question from the brothers at the Destination 1.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I am Abu Alia Sajjad Ahmad. I'm an engineer. My question, brother. Iman has different levels.
That's correct.
Is Iman related to peace? Does peace have different levels? Can I attain peace without Iman or vice versa? Can a person having low Iman attain peace?
Great question. It's actually a beautiful question. And Allah Azza wa Jal describes in the ayah that I recited before you, الْفَرِيقَيْنِ أَحَقُّ بِالْأَمْنِ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبَسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ. Right? It's a beautiful answer. Allah Azza wa Jal is saying, which of the two sides deserves peace more? In other words, there is such a thing as people finding peace once in a while in other than Islam. But who deserves consistent, constant, lifelong peace? These are people who truly came to believe and did not violate the rights of their faith by doing bad things, by doing the wrong thing. Now I tell you, Buddhists can tell you that they sit, and some of them can sit for like 4 hours in meditation in one position and not move. And you look at them, man, this guy is really peaceful. He's really he's calmed down and he finds a lot of peace in it. And people do yoga and find peace in that too, right? And people sit in a sauna and find peace. Some people listen to classical music and they find peace. So if you want to talk about somebody finding peace, they say, I find peace in different things. Somebody likes to sit at the beach and just look at the ocean waves and they find peace. But that is just the calmness of emotions temporarily. What we're talking about when we say peace is actually, number one, ضد الخوف. It's the opposite of fear. Your concerns, your grievances, your negative emotions aren't just taken away for a little while. You have a constant source of putting those things in perspective. For a lot of practices of peace, you know what people do? They like to forget their reality. This is very important to know. In other than faith, other than Allah, people like to forget their reality. So a lot of people find peace when they get drunk. You know why? Because when they're drunk, they can't think, so they forget about their problems. A lot of people find peace when they take drugs, because when they take drugs, their mind is gone, so they don't have to worry about their problems. A lot of people find peace only by playing video games or watching movies, because when they're playing the video game and watching the movie, they're not thinking about their own life, so it's happy time. So as soon as it ends, they're like, oh, I don't want to face reality again, put the next movie on. And then put the next one on, and put this video game on. And they keep, cycling these things because their own reality they can't face. The difference with us is our faith, Iman. If you really have it, you don't have to run from reality. You can face reality and still be at peace. You see? All other options, all other avenues of finding peace, they want you to get away from life. And what do people do when they want to find peace? They take a vacation. They go away from everything they know. They say, I need a vacation. What do we do when we need to find peace? We go in a jama'ah, we go towards people and pray to Allah together. That's what we do, right? So we face reality, and this is the beauty of our faith. Some peace you will find, but nothing like Allah will give you inside of this deen.
Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khair. Sheikh Nouman. And we're going to go to the middle microphone. Let's get a question. Remember, not yet Muslims, they take preference. If you're in the queue, come forward like Sheikh Nouman was discussing about the queues. You have a legitimate right to bypass the queue, right? Is that right, Sheikh?
Yeah, you can bypass the queue if you're not yet Muslim. That's cool.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A person who is praying 5 times a day and he is fasting in the month of Ramadan and he is performing Umrah and he is praying the Tahajjud also. But when he is alone, he is doing the bad deeds which is forbidden in Islam. And after that he realizes those mistakes and he is asking forgiveness to Allah and he is crying to Allah. And again 2-3 days he is not doing the same bad deeds and he is engaged with the good deeds. And again it is repeating to bad deeds and again asking forgiveness. It is going like this. So why this fluctuation in his life? So
Very
how
good.
to improve and increase his taqwa?
Thank you so much for your question, because this question is for millions of people. It's not just for one person. And thank you for asking that question. It's a
Jazakallah
very
khair.
intelligent question, mashallah. Let me just try to address this. I've given a lot of talks about this issue, the cycle of sin, and the cycle of even good people. They're praying, they're reciting Quran, they're even doing Umrah, ibadat, but at the same time, they can't get away from certain evil practices in their alone time. There are 2 parts of this problem. One of those parts is spiritual and the other part is psychological. And we have to address both of those parts. Let me start with the psychological only because most of the time when we have these discussions, we don't address the psychological side. We only address the spiritual side. So I'll try to address the psychological side of this a little bit. You have to understand that in psychology, there are triggers. In other words, there are certain situations that make your mind, release certain chemicals in your brain, and they make you want to do some things in certain settings. They are triggers. So for example, for a young man, I'll give a crude example. A young man is watching an action movie, and he's watching the movie and he sees a beautiful woman. And as soon as he sees that one scene, his mind gets triggered. And he pauses the movie and watches something far worse. And he gets into the habit of doing that. It wasn't the movie itself, it was just that one thing that triggered it. Or for some people, when they go back into their apartment or in their room, when they're alone by themselves, bad things happen. When they're by themselves. And when they're at the masjid, obviously it doesn't happen. When they're with their friends, it doesn't happen. When they're on their own, it happens. So the first bit of advice for everyone here and myself is you have to identify, when does the sin happen? When I'm by myself. Where am I when it happens? What times does it happen? And if you can identify the problem times and the problem places and the problem situations, you have to try to change those situations. If you're a young man and you have a problem with, the kinds of things that are available on the internet and you're looking at those kinds of things, for example, put your laptop, put your mobile device, put it in the kitchen. So that your mother's walking by, your dad's walking by, and the mobile device, don't put it in your room. And parents, put that stuff in a visible place in the house. These screens are destroying our kids. Seriously. Then the other thing, the spiritual side of this problem. It is normal for a human being to make tawbah to Allah and then go back and do the sin again because we are khatta'un. The Rasul of Allah ﷺ described us not as khati'un, but khatta'un. Kullu bani Adam, khatta'un. And khatta' is a sighatul mubalagha. It's called the hyperbolized state. What that means in simple English is the one who repeats mistakes over and over and over again. Like a khabbaz makes bread over and over again. A khatta' makes mistakes over and over again. So that will happen. It's inevitable that some sin will occur over and over again. However, if in the back of your mind, the moment you made tawbah, you are already thinking about 3 weeks from now, I'm going to be doing this again anyway. If you're thinking that in the back of your head, then لَيْسَتِ التَّوْبَةِ لِلَّذِينَ يَعْمَلُونَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Tawbah is not for people who continually do evil deeds. They've already accepted it. Allah says, وَلَمْ يُصِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا. They don't insist on what they did. In other words, you have to make a serious, verbalized, conscious commitment. This has to stop. Not that one time you cry and you turn to Allah, I'm so sorry, I can't believe I did this, and you don't do it, You have to figure out a way to get away from this entirely, a serious commitment to yourself. And if you can't do it on your own, seek the help of friends. Seek the help of people you trust. I know it's embarrassing sometimes, but we all need counsel and help sometimes. And when you realize that it's been going on for years, and you haven't been able to get out of it, it is time to seek someone else's help. Which is why in the ummah today, psychological and spiritual counseling is so important. So many young people are in need of counseling and families are in need of counseling. That is one of the greatest priorities of this ummah because that will be a vehicle by which peace will be delivered to people.
Jazakallah khair.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. It was a beautiful answer actually, very helpful. Okay, we're going to take one more sister's question and then we're going to wind up the session, but we've got some good news for you afterwards, inshallah, so don't run away. Sisters, can we have a question, please? On the topic, peaceful coexistence.
Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I am from the Philippines and I am a new embrace to Islam.
Congratulations.
This is my question. I am from that Cebu, and my family now is understand already, but not accepted to me. But I fighting because I know that Islam, and also I have a cousin before in Kuwait, 5 years. She's already in Islam, and then that time she's dead. And then bring in the Philippines, but the problem that the rules is go back to the Christians. How can to put the trap? Because I read the Quran now, different, and then make this one is haram. if example to me, because all people yani, in the end is all dead. I told my
I didn't understand the last thing you did. People what?
example to me. I don't know what time that Allah pick up to me, and my family yani cannot make that the rules. I want that. What is the rules that the Muslim to put in the trap? Because very different. Because in the Christian put the box cutting or make flower and bring to the church. This is haram about to me. What is that Allah to me yani to
What should you
how
do?
can to yani embrace to me, because I know now of that Islam.
I understand your question, and thank you for asking your question. This also is a very important question for a lot of the people here that recently accepted Islam. It's very difficult for your family to adjust to your new religion, and they expect you to do certain practices from your previous religion. So if the whole family is going to church, and it's disrespect that you're not going to church with them, you're not going to go and participate in the same thing with them, you're going against the family, you're hurting your mother's feelings, you're hurting your father's feelings and things like that. So there's somewhat of an emotional war inside the house. How to navigate that war? That's a long discussion, but I'll give you just a few quick pointers, bi'idhnillah. The first of them I'd like to share with you is that when you accept Islam, you have accepted a life of struggle. Struggle not just against yourself, but a struggle with the people around you. And they can be as angry and frustrated with you, but you cannot respond with anger. You cannot do that. So when they ask you to go to the church and you don't go, you don't say, I'm not going to go because of Islam. You're going to say, I love you. Can I vacuum the room? Can I bring you some flowers? Can I give you a hug? I can't go. In other words, you have to wrap up your refusal to accept, their religion and their practices. You have to package it with love. And they have to see you now, after Islam, as more loving, more caring, more concerned, more respectful than you ever were before. And even if they get angry at you, you don't get angry back with them. Now, this is not easy. This is hard. It's very hard to do that. But you have to do it. You have to find the strength to become stronger. And when they say things, don't get angry. A lot of people, they become Muslim, they get excited, they want to do da'wah to their family. Their family hears this, you crazy? You became a terrorist? What happened to you? And then they listen and don't call my religion terrorism, and they get angry and the fight begins inside the house. Do not get angry at your family, even if they say bad things about Islam. Do not get angry. Be patient. This takes time. It'll take a decade or 2 decades even if it needs to. But you have to show patience and you have to show love towards your family. That is most important for you right now. Because the only thing they know about Islam is you. And so if you are angry, then Islam is angry. And if you are mean, then Islam is mean. But if you are kind and you are merciful and you are loving and you are patient, then Islam is all of those beautiful things. You are the ambassador to your family.